Hello, Senator Klobuchar. It's
Hi,
wonderful to see you
Emily.
again. Here's what we need to talk about. E15, access to lower carbon, lower cost E15 is so top of mind right now for the ethanol industry, for fuel retailers. You remember last summer when fuel prices were so high, and President Biden, thanks in large part to your support, issued an emergency waiver so that consumers could save. They saved up to $1 in some locations last summer. So I know you've been working to try and get another emergency waiver. We're anxiously awaiting. Tell me about what the status is of access to E15 this summer right now.
They've got to issue this order, Emily. We know it should be year-round E15 because we know that works. But at the very least, we need this emergency waiver, and we need it now because we saw what happened, as you know, when we got it last time. And so I have been pushing the White House at every level to get this done. And I'm encouraging my colleagues in the Senate and the House to do the same. Last year, as you noted, we got them to do the E15 for the summer, and we saw the results, and it was a success. So we have won a success story. I am glad that Minnesota is one of the states that's been granted flexibility to use E15 during the summer of 2024. But what are you going to skip a year? When we know there's all still things kind of going with oil prices and unpredictability and the war in Ukraine and the effect that has had, the righteous war that it is, that we are fighting on the side of the Ukrainians against the Russians. But all of this has led to unpredictability. And we know that biofuels are better for the environment. We know they're less expensive. And we shouldn't need to be doing this year to year, state to state, or waiver to waiver. And that's why I am leading a bill for it's called the Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act with Deb Fischer to finally permanently make E15 available year round. That's the end game. That's what we should do. However, right now we just need this waiver. And I just talked to you briefly before we started this video interview, and I've already reached out at every level, but I'm going to do it this weekend as well and just get this done.
Appreciate it so much. And thank you also for introducing that bill, which would eliminate the uncertainty of access to E15 summer over summer. Any thoughts or perspective on what we should be expecting in terms of how that bill would potentially move forward?
Sure. And this is with Deb Fischer. She's a Republican from Nebraska. We actually chair the Senate Rules Committee together. So we've done a lot of work together, and we're really committed to this. So it's called the Consumer and Fuel Retailer Choice Act, and it would enable the year-round nationwide sale of ethanol blends higher than 10%. And the bill would also create uniformity across fuel markets instead of this patchwork of rules, whereas you know Minnesota's doing one thing, that's great, but it's not going to help the industry as a whole if it's a patchwork and a disruption in our fuel supply chain. And so by allowing consumers to access it through the year, they obviously are going to get used to it. It's not just the summer, and the advantages that we saw last summer with the prices going down, et cetera, then we can get them all through the year. And as you know, it saved, I think, Americans last summer at least $57 million in fuel costs. And drivers choosing E15 saved almost $3 to $5 per fill up. Additionally, allowing the sale of E15 year round would help reduce our dependence on foreign oil. And it is a common sense measure to bring down fuel costs and make sure we have a diversified fuel supply. There are so many good reasons to do it, Emily, that I don't know how anyone can explain being against it. But we know that we're always getting pushback from the oil companies, and it's always easy for people to listen to that. But we are making our case, and it's one of the reasons we were able to get the waiver last summer.
Thank you, Senator, for being such a stalwart advocate on all of the policy fronts to make sure that consumers have access to this affordable and low carbon fuel choice. So thank you. Keep up the good fight.
Okay.
We proudly fight alongside you, and have a wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Emily. See you around.